Good morning, everybody. It is not even noon, but it is Friday and the end of a work week. So I've been working hard to try and get my freedom back and wanted to share with you the letter that I just sent via email to Patty Myers, the Community Liaison Officer, the Internal Affairs Bureau Desk Sergeant, the Chief of Police, Elaine Bryant, my neighbor, Patty Ryan, WOSU, ABC, NBC, WBNS, and Mr. Miller at the Columbus Dispatch, and Clare Bullhun, who is our local representative for government. Division of Police. I have tried, I don't know how many different ways and times, to present to you various crimes that have been committed by my neighbors. Your refusal to allow me to report these crimes to you is evidence of profiling, because I am not being offered equal access to services available to all residents of the city of Columbus. For over 2.5 years, I have dialed 911 to have an officer dispatched to my location to report the various crimes and been denied that right. I have tried online reporting, and all of them have been rejected. And I've been told to call to have an officer. Because of the lack of support I was getting, I began reporting to the FBI events that have occurred in the neighborhood. My initial report to IC3 on June 20th, 2019, and subsequent 65 reports and tips have never been responded to. In July 2021, I completed a FOIPA request to the FBI, and I received a letter stating that there are no records on file with the Bureau. If I were on a watch list or do not contact list, I would have been informed of it. I informed the FBI and forensics unit of a home invasion with DNA evidence that was left behind, that the Division of Police were made aware of and refused to collect and analyze to catch the individual who has been harassing me for years in my neighborhood. I still have the urine in the same airtight container he deposited it in. The FBI never responded either. On April 16th, 2019, I hand-delivered a letter to 2 neighbors and the Columbus Police Mediation Center about neighborhood harassment that directly involved both residences and hoping to make amends. I thought calling them out on their harassing behavior, which included hate speech from a barbecue one of the residents hosted, would make it end, and the tension in the neighborhood and attacks against me, my property, and my life, which included attempted murder with fentanyl that appeared during a mental evaluation set up with a false narrative. In June 2019, I went in person to the Police Mediation Center on Jefferson Avenue and spoke with an employee at the center who told me I had called and spoken on the phone with her about the letter I had written. I informed her that I never dialed the Mediation Center. My phone records will prove that I never dialed the center. When I went back to the center more recently to try and find out what was spoken on the phone about my letter, The woman couldn't recall. Because only 3 people, the 2 residences and the Mediation Center, received the letter, and a man called impersonating me, it means that Etta's ex-boyfriend and Bill are the only 2 possible suspects of committing that crime. On April 17th, 2019, I purchased my cat at Delaware Humane Society in the afternoon. While an entire county away from my home, a mental health evaluation was completed at 4:44 p.m. I have the credit card purchase receipt proving my location. The narrative said I was, quote, witnessed in my front yard with a megaphone, accusing neighbors of doing things. When I arrived home around 6 p.m., a police officer and Tammy from NetCare were on my doorstep. Tammy spoke with her supervisor from her vehicle parked in the street, who was requiring that an evaluation be performed. The officer said that NetCare makes the call and that I had to be removed from my home. After experiencing 6 days of false imprisonment, I learned that the form had been incorrectly filled out and the wrong checkmark box had been filled in, and I didn't have to be forcibly removed from my home. On August 15th, on August 15th, 2020, a woman exiting Patty Ryan's home who drove a vehicle with the license plate EHG 6824 said to Patty on her porch across the street, quote, well, we can't promise anything, but there will be testing and an evaluation. What did Patty say to the woman prior to her making that statement? Patty would like me forcibly removed permanently from my home because she doesn't like that I've done drugs in the privacy of my own home. Her disgusting agenda violating my civil rights has been an ongoing form of harassment for 7 years. She has manipulated people in a position of authority to try to legally get what she illegally wants. She has enlisted the help of neighbors by telling them and the police lies about my past and present, and even has gone as far as claiming government officials have shared information with her about me. The men who posed as Secret Service are not legitimate and violated federal law, which I reported to police in report number 213026793, which was negligently dismissed without any investigation, even though I requested follow-up and deemed a miscellaneous incident. I have tried to tell this woman that they were imposters and asked what else did the 2 men tell her, and she refuses to cooperate or communicate with me for 8 months. My most recent false imprisonment experience was in June 2021. Was a stay of detention that my neighbor Patty Ryan performed after having a meeting at her house with 6 neighbors I can identify. The meeting was 4 days before I was forcibly removed from my home, again by the Sheriff's Department. I experienced 10 days of false imprisonment because the paperwork was completely blank that was signed by Kathy at NetCare. 3 days ago, I contacted Kate Chaboni with Coldwell Banker to see if she could help by explaining why her company and branch manager Tracy Coe had suddenly chosen to end affiliation with me on September 17th, 2019. I suspect someone contacted Tracy claiming a position of authority and telling lies to them so that I would lose my career. I have done nothing wrong or illegal that would make someone end a professional relationship. I have never not gotten any job I've ever applied for and been let go from a position in my entire life. It will be interesting, with the police's help, to discover what the reason was. I have not gotten a response to the text I sent her at 10:27 a.m. on the 25th of this month. I'd also like to learn if anything has been shared with the media that has prevented them from both contacting me and airing my incredible story of injustice involving torture. If this person works for the government and claiming an ongoing investigation is occurring, or that it is a matter of national security, and to not cover the story, he is only trying to cover up his own crimes and using his position of authority to block me. Freedom of the press should be exercised, and all of the truth should be reported to the public immediately. There is no reason why the media should feel restricted in covering all of the details of my experience the last 7 years. Within the last 36 hours, I have been visited by the MCR unit of the Columbus Division of Police and NetCare to see if I was doing okay, and that they received a phone call from someone concerned about my mental health. 2 nights ago, a police cruiser sat at the corner of Indianola and Midgard in front of my neighbor's house for about 15 minutes with its headlights on. The unit turned onto Woodbine directly in front of my house. I demanded to learn who was sending them out to harass me, and NetCare said it was an anonymous caller. They asked if they could ask me a few questions, and I refused and shut my fucking door. My neighbors are actively attempting to get me moved out of the neighborhood using the authorities. My neighbor Patty Ryan is trying to get me moved out of the home I own by abusing the power of the police and NetCare, trying to claim I am mentally ill. What else do I need to do to get the Columbus Division of Police to stop this insane woman from intentionally ruining my life because she doesn't want me living across the fucking street from her? When is the Division of Police going to fucking wake up and stop discriminating against me and refusing access to services to report neighborhood harassment and hold people accountable for the crimes they committed and I've been a victim of? When will my hell come to an end? I want some action done now. So, Officer Myers, yesterday I stated I would not be communicating with you anymore about the past incidents, which you claim are not a police matter. You stated that I shouldn't be worried about what my neighbors think. You even suggested that I should stay in my own lane. I'm being harassed by my neighbors and I want it to end. I suggest that you show less prejudice, stop profiling me, and stop violating my civil rights by blocking my way to reporting violations of the law that have happened and are still being committed in my community, directly targeting me. This is called gang stalking. It is very illegal, and because it has involved the Columbus Division of Police and NetCare, is considered organized stalking. I'm unsure what excuse the Division of Police will create for justifying why I should exist living in a rightless and in a lawless land. When is someone going to address all the concerns I've voiced? Because this problem is clearly not going away. It's not imagined. I'm not being paranoid. I'm not delusional. Take care of the real problems and stop blaming the victim. You don't have to believe I've been tortured by electronic harassment to do something about the crimes that are being committed. That's a pathetic reason to not stop the violence that's being committed. Please do something. I guarantee you that if we are able to get these real things to stop, and for those responsible for doing the damage are honest, that it will lead directly to the individual who has heinously destroyed my body and made me appear differently with the unconstitutional and illegal surveillance program of remote neural monitoring. Its use is a dirty little neighborhood secret, just as much as the neighborhood agenda to illegally get me to sell or lose my property is a neighborhood-wide secret you and I were never supposed to find out about. By the way, were you aware that neighbors held community-wide meetings about what to do to get me moved out of my home based off rumors and lies? And I've done nothing at all illegal or wrong. Why would neighbors do this? I want answers from the people who know them. I need the police's help. Why can't you see that? Robert E. Milligan IV. Rent. 434 Midgard Road, Columbus, Ohio, 43202.